Planet of the Apes series first began in 1968 and starred Charlton Heston as an astronaut who crash lands on an upside-down world where apes are now the intelligent rulers and mankind the primitive beasts. Despite its outlandish premise, the original featured, at the time, some groundbreaking makeup effects, thought-provoking allegories towards racism and animal cruelty, and of course, one of the most memorable twist endings in cinema history. It was such a huge success that it later spawned 4 sequels, 2 television shows, Halloween costumes, board games, action figures, and all sorts of creative merchandising material. And this was way before Star Wars came along. Over 30 years had passed since the original's release, and 20th Century Fox decided to remake Planet of the Apes in 2001, with Tim Burton attached to direct and Mark Wahlberg set in the lead role. Long story short, it sucked and left the entire series on yet another hiatus.
What? No!
Still determined to find more water in the well, Fox decided to give the apes yet another go-around in 2011 with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. But instead of hiring actors to go through hours upon hours of authentic-looking simian makeup, they decided to go the more technologically advanced route in motion capture animation, which was used effectively well for the studio's biggest hit to date, Avatar. But unlike the previous reboot, Rise takes place in modern times and is told through the eyes of an intelligent ape named Caesar, played by the always extraordinary Andy Serkis, who winds up leading an uprising of sorts among the apes, which ultimately progresses to the fall of human society. Nobody was expecting it to be anything special, and sure enough, the movie was a huge box office success as well as one of the best reviewed films of that summer. It took so many people off guard that once a sequel was finally announced, everyone was just as equally excited and nervous, mostly because we weren't sure if it was going to be as emotionally driven and socially relevant as Rise was. And that finally brings us to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which takes place almost a decade later, where a deadly virus has spread and nearly wiped out all of humanity. The only ones that thrive are Caesar, played once again by Andy Serkis, and his tribe of super intelligent apes that have learned a lot more than just communication through sign language. Everything seems to be going well until a small group of human survivors unexpectedly show up from a nearby colony, which sparks a very heated dilemma between both groups that, unless gets dealt with, will spiral out of control and result into a deadly battle for supreme order. And unlike most summer action flicks that let you know right off the bat who's the clear villain and who's not, this movie makes a good argument for both sides of the spectrum that you wind up rooting for both the apes and the humans to find a swift and peaceful resolution rather than start an all-out war. But being a Planet of the Apes film, you know that's just not going to be the case. Taking over the director's seat this time around is Matt Reeves, whose previous works include Cloverfield and Let Me In, and I gotta say, if it had not been for his unique cinematic spin on the story, this series would have most likely recoiled back into mediocrity. Just the way he expands upon this world and how much respect he has for the material should be enough to please both fans and newcomers alike. The actors on the human side do a very good job, like Jason Clarke, Kerry Russell, and Gary Oldman, but of course, it's the apes that wind up stealing the show, the two biggest standouts being Andy Serkis, proving once more how much the Academy voters suck when it comes to recognizing truly great motion capture performances, and Toby Kebbell as Caesar's second-in-command, Koba, who let's just say has very similar ideas as General Ursus when it comes to those pesky humans.
The only good human is a dead human!
Both of these actors show so much raw and emotional complexities in their roles that you simply don't see them as visual effects creations, but instead as living, breathing, and feeling characters. But it also doesn't hurt to say that the visuals in this are some of the very best I've seen this year. So no need to keep you in suspense any longer. I freaking love Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. It's intense from start to finish, with enough twists and turns thrown in to keep your interest. The anti-war message is well served, but never feels forced or preachy. The cinematography is gorgeous, the score is fantastic, and the inevitable climax is just about as action-packed as it is emotionally draining. I honestly can't think of one negative thing to say about it, which is why I'm giving Dawn of the Planet of the Apes a perfect 10 out of 10 rating. Seriously, who doesn't want to see chimps riding horseback wielding dual machine guns? And that concludes our show. I'm the host, and I will see you next time on another Midnight Movie Madness.